Hello, welcome, and Happy New Year. My name's James. I'm the candidate coach. It's great to have you with us today, the middle of January. I hope you had a good Christmas and New Year period. And I've got no doubt that you've joined the workshop today because in 2024, and probably early on, and maybe even right now, you're going to be looking for a new job. You're going to be going through the recruitment process. And so that's what I'm here to help you with today. Thanks very much for joining me. We've got a few people in the chat who have already mentioned where they are from. We've got people from Sydney, Adelaide, Mildura, Hobart, all over Australia, probably all over the world joining us today. Please do continue to make comments, talk about where you're from, ask me questions as I'm presenting, make comments on the things that I'm talking about, because one of the things you probably know about looking for work is there's no one perfect answer to everything. In the workshop today, I'm going to share with you my thoughts, my opinions based on my experience, but in no way is it the only way to do things. There's lots of different ways to write a great resume. There's lots of different ways to answer an interview question well. So I'm going to be sharing with you my experience and my recommendations today, but I'm also happy to hear from all of you. So let's get straight into it. What are we going to go through today? What am I hoping that you are going to learn in today's workshop? Well, first of all, I'm going to take you through what I think you need to know before you begin your job search. So many of you might have already been looking for work for some time. Even if you have been, you can still get a lot from these tips. The importance of mindset and attitude during the recruitment process, how an effective elevator pitch can make all of the difference, how to get started on creating a great resume. We won't be going through how to write a whole resume today. That's another workshop that we offer by itself. Likewise with cover letters, we're going to talk about why they are still important even now in 2024 and how you can nail yours. We're going to talk about how you can effectively call a recruiter up about a job. We're going to look at interview preparation, effective communication, salary negotiation, and at the end, we're going to have an opportunity for questions and answers. So today is what we call our masterclass. All those things I talked about there, we're just going to be touching on them today and giving you a little bit of advice on. If you want to deep dive into any of the topics that we are talking about today, you'll be able to do so by jumping on your candidate coaching platform and watching our detailed workshops, or maybe watching one of our other pre-recorded workshops where we spend a lot more time focusing on those individual topics. So a bit about me, your presenter, before we start. I'm a director at Smart Recruitment, where I've been since 2005. And over that time, I've conducted over 3,000 interviews, over 600 group assessments, and really focused on recruiting roles where soft skills and interview behavior really play an important part in the success of somebody getting the job. And launched the Candidate Coach in 2019. So all up, I've probably placed over 1,000 people into jobs throughout my career. And that's where my coaching comes from. When I'm giving you recommendations today, that's my foundation. I continue to recruit right up to this very day. All right, so let's get straight in. What you need to know before you begin. So what do I mean by what do you need to know before you begin? Well, let's talk about how most people start off looking for work. There comes a point in time where you've decided, I'm going to start looking for a new job. Now, maybe you're a student and you're coming towards the end of studying. Maybe you're currently working in another role and you've decided, no, 2024, I want to make the move. Maybe you just finished up your other job. But whatever has happened, you've got to a point where it's, okay, it's now time for me to start actively applying for and looking for a new job. What most people tend to do as the next step is find their resume. So like, okay, where did I save my resume? It's on my computer somewhere. They have a look at it and they just tidy it up a little bit and maybe add a bit of information about what they've been doing more recently. They jump onto a website, maybe Seek, maybe Indeed. And as soon as they find a job that looks interesting, they just send off the apply. They just click apply, pop off the resume. Lo and behold, 20 minutes later, you've applied for 5 jobs. And you're like, oh, that was really easy. That was quite simple. I didn't realize how easy it was to actually apply for jobs. An hour later, you've applied for 10 jobs. And at that stage, after you've applied for 10 jobs, you're thinking, oh, you know what? I actually don't think those first 2 or 3 jobs I should have applied for, because these ones I found a bit later on, they're a lot better. So what I'd really encourage you to do is to take a step back, and not just rush out and start applying. The job boards make it very easy for you to apply for a job a minute if you like. But what I'd really encourage you to do is at the start of the process to really step back and to think about what you're going to do. So let's plan. It's going to save you time, it's going to save you effort, and it is going to save you sanity. So have a think about right now, what type of work do I really want to do? If you've been working before in your career, what did you enjoy the most about the work that you've done? What do you want to find more of and what do you want to find less of? Also have a think about where your skills and experience are going to be most valued. Imagine looking at yourself from an employer's point of view. What do you think would be of most value to an employer? So don't go out and apply for roles that you're not skilled, qualified, or interested in. Even though the job boards allow you to do so, and it might be very tempting to send off 30 resumes in an hour and see what comes back, it's not going to be in your best interest. It's really important to research your market thoroughly because that's going to allow you to be a smart and targeted job seeker. So what do I mean by this? Well, if you are looking for a customer service role in Melbourne at the moment, there's probably over 1,000 jobs available. But if you're looking for a chemical engineering job in Adelaide, there might only be 3 or 4 jobs available. It's really important that you have an understanding on the volume of opportunities that are available for you to apply for. Because if there's only 4 or 5 jobs that you're available to apply for, you really need to be putting a lot of effort and attention into those individual applications because it might be another week or 2 before another role's advertised. Whereas if there are 1,000 customer service jobs available where you live and that's what you're looking for, you can have some comfort there in knowing that there's more opportunities. So how many vacancies are in your industry? What recruiters advertise your jobs? And which 2 jobs are you going to apply for every day? So at the Candidate Coach, we have a rule. Even if you are unemployed at the moment and you are full-time looking for work, I only want you to be submitting 2 applications every day. The reason I only want you to submit 2 applications every day, and as we'll talk about today, is I want you to be putting a lot of time and effort into each individual application. Even though the job boards will allow you to apply for 1 job a minute, I want you to be specific with your applications. I want you to be doing research. I want you to be tailoring your resume, tailoring your cover letter, and submitting 2 applications every day. That's also going to force you into only applying for jobs you're really interested in. Now, if you're looking for jobs for 2 weeks, that still means you're going to probably apply for 20, 30 jobs. There's plenty of jobs for you to apply for. But I want you to be really protective of your time. I want you to actually set a high benchmark for the jobs that you're going to apply for. I don't want you to just do what we call, which is spray and pray. So we see a lot of candidates just spray their resume out to anything and just pray that somebody calls them back, and that's where they'll start. But with you, I want you to take time and put effort into each application. So stop rushing out to apply for as many jobs as you possibly can and start approaching it more thoughtfully. It's going to be much better for you. And thirdly, the way you handle rejection may help you land a job. Now, this might sound a bit bizarre, but you're going to get rejected a lot throughout the recruitment process. Over the next couple of weeks or the next months, you are going to get rejected, the majority of the time, or you're not going to hear back. And this actually, can really start to impact your mental health. You need to be resilient. You need to view it that, hey, if I've sent out 20 applications over 2 weeks, and I've had 4 people call me back, that's what I'm going to focus on. I had 4 callbacks. That's really good. Rather than worrying about all the rejections, because every single person gets rejected at some point. And when you're applying for jobs, you need to understand that you're going to get rejected a lot. So I've got a question for you. Please type this into the comment box wherever you're watching on whatever platform. How are you feeling today? I want to know how you are feeling today. Now, this is a bit of an odd question for me to be asking, but pick an emoji or an emoticon or whatever you call it from the screen there and type in how you are feeling today. I'll give everyone a moment to do so. All right, we've got a few responses coming through, a few happy faces, a couple of unsure faces, a couple of frowns. So why am I asking you this though? Why am I asking you how you are feeling today? Well, I want you to actually think about how you actually present yourself as a job seeker. So let's change that lens slightly. How do you present yourself as a job seeker? Again, from that list of emojis, if you had to pick something here that best describes how you present yourself at an interview, when you're having a conversation? How does your resume present you? Which emoji would you choose that shows how you present yourself when you're looking for work? Are you in the top left-hand corner? Are you happy? Are you positive? Or is your application and your attitude towards it all negative? Maybe you've been unemployed for a significant period of time. You've had some really bad experiences and you're quite jaded. Have a think. If you don't want to type it, just have a think. How do you present yourself when you're a job seeker? Because it's really important to have a great attitude and a great mindset. So I want to share a quote with you from Ryan Biggs, who was formerly the head of resourcing and employer branding at the Australian Financial Complaints Authority. And he says, I will always go for someone with a fantastic attitude that may need a little bit of development over someone who has all of the skill but has a bad attitude. So this is really important. Attitude and mindset is very, very important. In this example here, it is more important. Having a good attitude and a good mindset is more important than having all the skills. So put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter. If you're recruiting somebody, who would you choose from? Again, from the list of emojis, if you're employing somebody, which emoji do you want to employ? It's probably going to be the top left-hand corner, or someone from the top row, isn't it? Someone who's smiley, someone who's friendly, someone who's positive. You're not going to choose someone who's negative or grumpy or seems to have a bit of a chip on their shoulder. But too often throughout the recruitment process, this is what we come across. We come across candidates who have a chip on their shoulder because of how they left their last job. So we need to show a positive attitude. We need to be positive even if we're not feeling like it at the time. So how do we do this? Well, first of all, being positive can be a choice. I'm not asking you to be positive 24/7, but when you sit down to read through online job ads, to edit your resume and cover letter, before you have a phone interview and before you have a face interview, you can change your mindset. You can choose to be positive. All right, for the next hour, I'm going to be really positive about my job search. All right, for this next phone call, I'm going to be really positive and speak upbeat. You can actually make that choice and it will improve your chances of being successful. So you can do it before you apply, before a phone interview, and before a face-to-face interview. And consider, how do I want to be remembered? So when that interaction finishes, when you leave the interview room or you hang up the phone, think, what is the lasting memory I want? What is the impression that I want to leave that person with? When I leave the room, what are they going to say about me? Because that's how you need to begin your interaction, by thinking about, what do I want to leave them with? It's very important to do so. Thirdly, following up with the recruiter. So being proactive, showing that you've got a high level of interest. So don't be whinging, don't be negative. Even if you've had a really bad experience recently, you need to leave that at the door. Because if you bring that with you when you're looking for it, it's going to come through and you're going to be unsuccessful. All right, quick activity. I'd like you to get out a pen and a piece of paper, or I'd like you to open up a window on your computer. If you're watching this on your phone, grab something else. And I don't want you to answer the following. I want you to write the following down. So I want you to write down one name. So just write down exactly what you see on the screen now. Write down name, write down overview of your work history. So you don't have time to write an overview of your work history now, but write that down. Write down your top 3 skills. So just write down there. And write down the type of work that you are looking for. Okay, so who knows what we're doing here? We're doing a quick activity. What we are doing is we are creating an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is a brief, persuasive statement. Why might having an elevator pitch come in handy when looking for work? Well, the most common interview question in the world is, tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, I use this question all the time. Whenever I speak to a job seeker for the first time, I always say, hello, good morning. You know, it might be on the phone, might be face-to-face. Thanks for taking my call. Thanks for coming in. Hey, just to start off with, tell me a bit about yourself. I ask that at the beginning of every single conversation. Now, this question sounds friendly. It's lighthearted, but it is also the first opportunity for you to give a really impressive answer. So if you have a great answer prepared for tell me a little bit about yourself, you're going to create a great first impression. You're going to get asked this question a lot. So the best possible answer to the most common interview question in the world is your elevator pitch. So let's think about it again. Elevator pitch, it's a name. It's an overview of your work history. It's your top 3 skills, and it's the type of work that you're looking for. Now, it gets its name from being, it's called an elevator pitch because it comes from the scenario where, let's imagine you're actually going to an interview this afternoon in the Melbourne City, and it's on the 30th floor of a building. You walk into the lobby, you get into the lift, you press floor 30, and just as the doors close, someone says, "Wait!" And they open up the doors and they jump in and go, "Oh, I'm going to the 30th floor. Oh, actually, I'm here to meet with you today. While we're going up in the elevator, why don't you tell me a bit about yourself?" So you've got that time while the elevator's going up, sort of that 45 to 60 seconds to give an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is used a lot in sales, but it certainly has a great role to play for job seekers when they're looking for work. So it's a name, it's an overview of your work history, so it's really quick. It's your top 3 skills. Now, these can change with regard to each role, and it's the type of work that you're looking for. So here's my elevator pitch. Now, I don't want you to be intimidated by mine because I'm a professional recruiter and I've worked on my elevator pitch for years, but this would be mine. Hi, my name's James Whitcomb. For 15 years, I've worked in recruitment, beginning as a recruitment consultant before progressing on to management and then on to being a director, which is my current position. My top skills would include interviewing candidates in a way that uncovers their true motivation, public speaking and presenting, as well as coaching and training candidates to ensure they're giving themselves the best opportunity for landing a new job. I'm currently looking for a new role where I can focus more of my time on training, coaching, and assisting candidates as opposed to being a recruiter. So by you hearing my elevator pitch, you probably feel like you know quite a bit about me. So that is the aim of the elevator pitch. It's succinct, it's brief, but there's a bit of detail there, and straight away you feel like you know a little bit about me. So I want you to go away and create your elevator pitch. I want you to go home or wherever you're watching this, answer those questions and rewrite it a few times until you've got it. It's perfect. When it's perfect, I then want you to save it on your phone or to print it out, to start to memorize it and ultimately to use it. Because this is a great way for you to answer that really promising question that comes about at nearly every interview. Tell me a little bit about yourself. So my next question for you, and I would love for you to type your answer into the comments box for this one, is how long do you think a recruiter spends reading your resume? Now, for you, you've probably spent a lot of time writing out the answers, writing out your resume. You might have spent days, if not weeks on it. You might have been working on it for 10 years. You send it through to the recruiter. How long do you actually think they spend reading your resume? The first person who has written an answer in there has put 2 minutes. All right, well, I'm going to reveal the answer to you. It's 7 seconds. It's far less than 2 minutes. So an eye tracking study shows that recruiters look at resumes for 7 seconds. Let's look in a bit more detail. So, resumes are read for 7 seconds. That doesn't mean that at 7 seconds every resume is stopped being read, but it's at the 7-second point where the recruiter basically decides whether or not they are going to keep reading. So you've got 7 seconds to capture the attention, to impress the person reading it, and to make sure that they want to keep reading. So when I hear that we've got 7 seconds to do that, first of all, I'm thinking the most important part of your resume is page 1. Whether your resume is 2 pages, 3 pages, 4 pages, I probably wouldn't recommend any more than 4. It doesn't really matter if your first page isn't great, because in 7 seconds, I'm not turning the page. I need to be able to see great information and a great layout on the first page. So if we have a look at that second dot point, resumes that succeeded in capturing the recruiter's attention featured simple layouts, clear section and heading titles. Resumes organized by E or F pattern reading tendencies did well, especially when they had bold titles and bulleted accomplishments. So these are things we need to do. Resumes did not fare well when hindered by cluttered layouts, a lack of white space on the page, multiple columns and long sentences. A lack of section or job headers also turned off recruiters. So we need to have headings, we need to have titles, we need to have some white space. It needs to be well designed and aesthetic. Now, as I said today, at the start of the workshop, we're not going to go through our whole resume creation today because that in itself is another workshop. But there are still some things I'd like to share with you. First of all, I want to remind you about what a resume actually is. It's a factual account of your employment and study history. So it has dates, it has times, it has locations, it has people's names, it has job titles, it has duties. But it also needs to highlight you, it needs to sell you. Your resume is a sales document. It needs to promote you. In those 7 seconds, it needs to make me want to pick up the phone and call you. So does your resume sell you? That's a question you've got to ask yourself. Or is it just black words on white paper and it's really boring and it's really dry and it puts you to sleep? So what I want to do is just share with you today one example of how you can sell your experience. So I'm going to share an example here from a previous candidate that I dealt with. So this is how she described her role. So she wrote that she was a sales representative, and I've changed the company name there, from August to July 2013 to 2016. So for 3 years, she was a salesperson for the company for 3 years, and she sold goods and traveled to meet customers and keep them happy. So this is how she described her role. This is what I've taken off her resume. Now, I called her up partly because working in sales is a hard job. And if you've been working in sales for 3 years for one company, that shows some good resilience. So based on that, I gave her a call, but she was kind of lucky to get a call. After speaking with her on the phone, then after interviewing with her, and she ultimately got the job, but we changed her resume because I learned so much more at interview that this is what we did with that experience. So you've got the before now, and here comes the after. So what you'll see here, first of all, is we've divided into 2 sections. We've got those bold headings. So we've put primary responsibilities and then achievements. Now, the reason I put primary responsibilities, and I use the word primary there, is you can't list all of your responsibilities in your job. You just can't. That would, if you actually listed all the things you did in the job, it'd take up 6 pages. So we're picking primary ones here. And actually, you are going to pick primary responsibilities and you're going to change them for each job to make sure you've got very relevant ones there to the job. But as you'll see here, this is really easy to read. We've got 2 headings and we've got dot points. So down the dot points for the responsibilities, I get a really good idea here of what she did. So first dot point was maintain regular contact with a large portfolio of business clients. Third last dot point, attend at least 3 new business appointments per day. I love it when job seekers use numbers or figures on their resume. You quantify something. If this candidate had to put attend new business appointments, I don't know whether that means 1 a day, 10 a day, 1 a year, 500 a year. But when she puts 3 a day, I know that that means about 15 a week, which means 500 to 700 a year. So I can understand, okay, that's a lot of appointments. And then achievements. Achievements are absolutely key. Your resume needs to be what we call an achievement-based resume. So this person has been salesperson of the year in 2014, and they exceeded their sales budget by 21%. That's what we're looking for. We want people who are top performers. The third dot point there is she helped increase product sales from 400 to 800,000. You've got to list achievements on your resume. Now, you might be sitting there going, James, I have never been salesperson of the year. I've never been employee of the year. You don't have to have an award to be able to list an achievement on your resume. I want you to think of what you were doing at the very start of your most recent job, and I want to think about what you were doing at the end. Any of those extra responsibilities, you can list them as achievement. So if you started off at McDonald's, working at the back, and you ended up as an assistant store manager, that's an achievement. Or if maybe you didn't end up as assistant store manager, but you were given extra responsibilities, you were asked to help onboard and train new staff, you could list that as an achievement. You're asked to cash up or close up the store at the end of the day. That's an achievement. Start having a think about things that you can put on your resume to list as achievements. That's all we've got time for in terms of resumes today, but I'd encourage you to check out a lot of our other coaching content for resumes. All right, let's have a quick talk about cover letters. So cover letters get a really bad rap. They really get a bad rap. I want you to answer the following question for me wherever you are watching this workshop. Are you submitting a cover letter with every application? I would say that probably 2/3. I reckon 2/3 of candidates submit cover letters with every application. So type in for me whether or not you are submitting a cover letter. Now, I want to point out to you that if you are not submitting a cover letter, you are taking a huge risk. You might say, hey, James, you just said 60% submit them. I know that some recruiters don't read cover letters. Why should I submit a cover letter? Well, you don't know who you're sending your application to. And some recruiters actually read cover letters before they read the resume. So if you are submitting an application and you don't submit a cover letter, the person who is reading your application might only start with the applications with a cover letter. And so your resume may never be read because you didn't include a cover letter. And as an applicant, you can only submit two things, a resume and a cover letter. Why would you pass on one of those? So it's really important to get your cover letter right. It's just too much of a huge risk. However, if there is a job that actually says, cover letters are not required, or the recruiter says, don't bother about a cover letter, that's fine. Don't submit a cover letter. But unless you are told not to, you need to submit a cover letter. So what is a cover letter and how is it different to a resume? Well, we use different language with cover letters. It's written to somebody. We personalize it. We need to do a lot of research on the position and the company for the cover letter, and we need to include that information in the cover letter to show what we've done. It needs to be 1 page long, it needs to be proofread multiple times, and it needs to change for every single job. If you are submitting the same cover letter for every single job, you are really doing a very poor job. So here's how a good cover letter should look like. 4 simple paragraphs. I'm going to share with you today my 4-paragraph formula that is easy for you to do at home. And I guarantee that if you start using this simple 4-paragraph formula, cover letter writing is going to go from boring, unenjoyable, and hard to less unenjoyable and much easier by using this 4-paragraph formula that I guarantee you will impress someone reading a cover letter. So the first paragraph, we are specifically addressing the role in the company that we are applying to. 2 sentences should be enough. So you are literally saying, dear, if there's a name there, it might be dear James. If there's no name there, it's dear sir or madam. Please find attached my resume and cover letter for the sales representative position, that's the role, at Smart Recruitment, that's the company. That's all you need to write there. That's it. That's done. That takes you 1 minute. Paragraph 2. So this is where we start to need to do a little bit of work. We need to mention here 2 or 3 things that we know about the organization or the vacancy. So this is where you need to do a little bit of research. You jump on the company website, you jump on their careers page, you go through their socials, you Google them and find out information. And we mention here what we know about the company that we like. Why do we like this company? I recently saw on social media this, or I read in the news this about your company, or I really like the fact that your organization has just opened an office near me. What do we know about them? We need to show a high level of interest here in 1 paragraph. So paragraph 2 is all about the company and the job. Paragraph 3 is then all about ourselves. So here we're going to mention our skills that are relevant to the job. So again, it's just 2 or 3 things. What 2 or 3 things can you pick from your background that are going to make you really relevant to this job or really relevant to this company? So for example, why do we think we're suitable for the role? And you might say, in the advertisement, you mentioned you were looking for someone with 2 years of customer experience. I previously finished my previous role where I've been working as a customer experience officer for 4 years with this company. So we've got to pick just 2 or 3 things here, the best 2 or 3 things here that make us really relevant to the job. And then paragraph 4 is just a brief conclusion. It's in 1 sentence. Thanks very much for reading my cover letter. I hope to hear back from you soon. So as you'll see here, paragraph 1 and paragraph 4 both only take 1 or 2 minutes each. Paragraph 2 and 3, we have to do a little bit of work, but again, it's not much. So take a screenshot. I'll leave that there for a moment. Take a screenshot of this. This is what you need to do if you hate writing cover letters, or even if you like writing cover letters. This is a simple formula. And if you can follow this formula, your cover letters will go straight to the top 5%. I guarantee it. So I want to prepare for you one that I wrote using my own formula. Now, again, don't be intimidated by this. I'm a professional recruiter. I should definitely know how to write a good cover letter. And if I can't, then I shouldn't be coaching you. But here is a cover letter. using my formula. Now, up the top right-hand corner, you'll see there you might want to use, put the date in or put in the address. But let's read through it. Dear Rupert. So first of all, I'm using the person's name. Tick. I'm writing to you as an enthusiastic applicant for the marketing coordinator vacancy with Duke Industries. Let's stop there already. If you can do name, job title, and company, you are already in the top 25% of cover letters. Most cover letters I get will say, Dear Sir or Madam, and straight away that's a mistake because when I advertise, my name is always on the job. So if someone says, Dear Sir or Madam, or to whom it may concern, straight away I'm like, no, cross, you didn't tailor your cover letter. But as soon as someone says, Dear James, I'm like, oh, okay, this person's edited at least the first part of their cover letter, I'm paying attention. If you then list the job and company, you're in the top 25% straight away. It's that easy. All right, paragraph 2. So this is where we're going to talk about the company and what we know about them. I've long followed Duke Industries and was impressed to see them win an award at last month's National Marketing Awards. To be recognised for digital innovation is a great achievement. As a passionate marketing graduate, I've studied Duke Industries' graduate marketing program and am impressed with its commitment to both holistic and technical learning. Okay, so that paragraph sounds like a bit of a mouthful, but hey, it sounds like we know a lot. But we've only really mentioned 2 things. They won an award and we know they've got a great graduate program. It's really not that hard. You can chop and change a couple of things here based on what you're going for, but popping in 2 things that you can find out about the company just to show that you're interested. Do this, you're in the top 10% of cover letters easily. Now, paragraph 3, we're going to move the focus from the company to us. How are we really relevant to the job? Why should we be considered? Excuse me, I'll just have a sip of water. So whilst completing my master's in marketing last year, I was given the opportunity to work as an intern in the marketing department at Rosenberg and Associates. In this 12-month placement, it included 4 rotations. However, it was digital marketing, which I enjoyed the most. I worked with several of our top-tier clients and gained great exposure. I was awarded Intern of the Year from a pool of 20. Now, you might not be able to say you got Intern of the Year. Even if that line was there, it doesn't matter. What you are showing here is why you are relevant to the job. You're picking, again, 2 or 3 things that show your relevance to the job or the company. And then paragraph 4, as we said, it's a brief sign-off. I look forward to hearing back from you regarding my application. I'll be able to make myself available to meet at short notice. So paragraph 1, paragraph 4, 2 minutes each. It's paragraph 2 and 3. You can put the work in. I know that you can do this. And once you've done it, once you'll see. All right. So that's our brief touching on cover letters today. Again, we run a whole workshop on cover letters. So I want you to think about the moment now that you've found the job, you've done your research, you've tailored your cover letter, you've submitted your resume, you've spent a lot of time now, you click apply on Seek and you send it off to the recruiter. I want to ask you a question. What are you doing after you send off your resume? After you click apply on Seek, send it off, what are you doing? Are you doing anything at all? What happens if you haven't heard back in 24 hours, 48 hours, 2 weeks? Are you following up at all? Because you've come so far, you've put in a lot of work really to this point, haven't you? You've researched and found the role, created a great elevator pitch, resume has been tailored and submitted, cover letter's been created and submitted. What are you actually doing? I want you to pick up the phone and call. Now, I know that will probably make you feel exactly like the photo that I've got there. You'll feel scared. You'll feel terrified. James, what are you doing, man? Are you mad? I don't want to pick up the phone and call. That's the worst possible thing. I want you to consider the following scenario, though. I work in an office with a lot of recruiters. There's probably 15 there on any given day. They're all reading resumes, making phone calls, going in and out of interviews. Now, if Matthew is the person that you've applied to, for example, if Matthew's sitting there at his desk and the job that you've applied to, he has 100 applications to read through. 100 resumes sitting there and probably 60 cover letters with those, and he's got to go through all of them. Now, if his phone rings and he picks it up and says, hello, Matthew speaking, and it's you calling him, even though he's got 100 resumes to go through, guess who he's considering right now? Guess who his focus is on? It's not on the 100 applications, it's on you. You've got him on the phone. You are now giving yourself great exposure that the other candidates are not giving them. Now, the danger here, though, is that the phone call goes badly and you're out of the running. But if you can plan the phone call well, ask really good questions, you can easily leapfrog 99 other candidates straight away and go into interview. So I'm going to show you how to do that, because I don't want you to make a bad phone call. I want you to make a great phone call, a well-planned phone call, and that is going to significantly increase your chances of getting to interview. Okay, so this section is called How to Effectively Call a Recruiter About a Job. So the first thing you need to do is you need to know the name of the person you're speaking to. So that would have been on the ad, or if it's not, it's calling up and asking for that person, and expect them to answer the phone. So don't hope to get their voicemail. You need to be ready. You need to be in a nice, quiet position to have a conversation. You need to have everything in front of you to do with the job. So your resume that you submitted, your cover letter, copy of the advertisement, any information you've got, either print it out in front of you or on a laptop in front of you, because you're going to get nervous. So likewise with your cover letter, you want to have that printed out in front of you as well. Because if you get through to Matthew and he says, oh, yep, I've got 5 minutes, tell me a bit about yourself, you're going to go, oh, your brain's going to be like, this is my cover, this is my elevator pitch. What's my elevator pitch? Oh, I can't remember it. But if you can look at your computer screen or your printout in front of you, it's just there. It comes back to you and away you go. So have everything laid out in front of you and ready to go. Have your notes from your research too. Be clear with the recruiter. So most recruiters will have at least 10 jobs that they're recruiting on, some up to 50. So if you get through to Matthew, don't just say, hey, I'm just calling up about the job. Say, hey, I'm calling up about the sales representative position or the chemical engineering position. Be really, really specific and make it easy for the recruiter. The fifth thing you need to do, and this is probably the most important, is to write down some questions in advance that you're going to ask. Now, the questions that you're going to ask in advance aren't things that are on the advertisement. Don't ask something you already know. Don't ask where it's located. Don't ask what the salary is. Ask 2 or 3 questions here that show that you know what you're talking about. So, for example, if let's say you're going for an accounting role, and it might mention in the advertisement that experience using MYOB software is preferred, that might be something that's mentioned on the advertisement. MYOB is the most commonly used accounting software. So if you're a candidate, if you've been using MYOB software, a question you might like to ask is, hey, I noticed in the advertisement that you mentioned there'd be a preference for candidates that are using MYOB software. I've just been retrained and I'm now familiar with MYOB version 27. Is that what version are you using in your organization? So what we're really doing here is we're asking a question to show off. So if you ask that recruiter that question, hey, I've been using MYOB version 27, which version does your organization use? Straight away, the recruiter's thinking, oh, they're using version 27. I don't even know what version we use. This candidate knows, sounds like they know what they're talking about. So you're creating the impression here through good questions that you really know what you're talking about. So write down 2 or 3 questions. We don't want yes, no answers though. So you wouldn't say, is MYOB version 27 relevant? Yes or no. We don't want that. We want, what version are you using? So we want to establish here with the recruiter that we know what we're talking about, because we're going to ask a couple of great questions. Finally, expect to keep the call brief. You might get someone just before they go in or out of a meeting, but also be prepared that it could go straight into a phone 20-minute interview, and practice. This is going to be awkward. Get a parent, get a friend, get your partner, get your child, get your housemate to practice with you. Out of all of the coaching that I do, if you aren't doing this step, this is the one. This is the one that makes the biggest difference, I find, is the person that is prepared to make a phone call. And hey, you'll probably do really poorly the first time. The second time you'll do slightly less poorly, and you'll get better and better as you're going along. But you need to start somewhere. I'd like to move on now just to talking about interviews. So we've talked previously about being the very best version of yourself at interview. We've talked about mindset and attitude, but particularly when you are in the interview room, you really need to be the very best version of yourself. So if you think of yourself in terms of a score between 0 and 100, Some days throughout the year, you're going to feel like 100. I'm 100 out of 100. Woo, woo, woo. Now, for some people, they might be like that every day. Whereas for other people, they might only feel 100 out of 100 2 or 3 times a year. The rest of the time, they feel 30 out of 100. What I want to say to you is you need to be as close to showing 100 out of 100 as you possibly can at your interview, because you want to show the interviewer you at your best. Hey, this is me at my best. You don't walk into the interview and want to show yourself at your worst. You want to show yourself at your best. Like when you're selling a house or you're selling a car, you clean it up, you vacuum it, you polish it, you make it look great, you get it serviced, you show it at its best, you take photos of it at its best. That's you when you go in for an interview. You need to get yourself, even if you have to fake it and be a little bit more smiling, a little bit more chatty than you're really feeling, that's what you need to do. So how are we going to get to that point? Well, for a lot of us, it's practice. We need to practice interview questions. We need to go through the experience a few times. We need to prepare for what's going to happen. We need to tell ourselves, I'm going to get nervous. It is going to happen. We need to give ourselves plenty of time to arrive and stay calm. You might be the best prepared candidate who can speak really well, but I guarantee you, if you are heading to the interview and you're like, oh my goodness, it starts in 15 minutes, I'm touch and go. By the time you get to the interview, you have probably defeated yourself because you've been stressed about running late and you're already in a bit of a tiz. So running late or running just on time is not okay. So let's talk about how we do that. So the day before the interview, let's pretend we've got an interview tomorrow morning at 10. It's Wednesday now. We've got an interview Thursday at 10. What do we need to do? So beforehand, we need to check and confirm, our travel arrangements. How are we going to get there? What train are we going to take? What's parking like? We need to make sure that all of our clothes are ironed and cleaned. You don't want to be pulling out your shirt the morning of the interview to give it an iron and to find out that it's dirty. Get that organized today. Excuse me. Likewise with your shoes. Have them polished, ready to go. Everything has been printed. So you need to take to your interview a copy of your resume, your cover letter, probably your banking details, maybe some ID, maybe some references, academic transcripts. Print them all out today so that tomorrow you're not stressing about having to do it and the printers run out of ink or all that type of stuff. If you've been asked to do an assessment, do it the day before and practice. Now, the reason why I want you to do all of these things the day before at least is so when you go to bed the night before your interview, you're not lying in bed going, okay, I've got to get up in the morning and, oh, where are those socks? Where are those? Actually, I don't know where my dress pants are. How am I going to get there? Last time, is my e-tag? Do I need to get petrol? I've just got to print out. Did I take that test? No, you won't go to sleep. You'll just be lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. Get everything ticked off. Do this whole list the day before, or ideally, earlier if you can. All right, beep, 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 beep. Your alarm goes off. It's the morning of the interview. You wake up. So the first thing that you need to do, and this is really important, is have breakfast. You need a full stomach. It gives you really good energy. You might not feel hungry. You've got butterflies, but get some food into you. Shower, shave, brush your teeth, fresh and clean. Avoid strong odors. If you're a smoker, try not to smoke too close to the interview. Likewise with vaping, don't be standing out the front door of the recruitment office sucking on a vape. As we said, leave with plenty of time. I would recommend, as I've got there, arrive at the location 30 to 40 minutes early. Great, we're here. The interview's not for 40 minutes. I'm just going to walk around the block or sit in the park, and I'll go up to reception and I'll introduce myself probably 10 minutes beforehand. That's the best way to do things. Now, take to interview. I would really recommend that if you don't have one, you buy a compendium. There's a photo there on the screen of what a compendium is. This is what you should take to interview with you. You can get it from the newsagents or Officeworks for about $25. In your compendium, I want you to have your resume, your cover letter, your elevator pitch straight away. You might say, James, why do I need to take my resume? I've already emailed it to them. Well, if somebody else joins the interview halfway through and they don't have your resume, you've got it there. If you've got your resume in front of you and your interviewer is asking you questions about things on your resume, you've got a copy you can look down at. Likewise with your cover letter, and you've got your elevator pitch there in front of you too. Now, like when we said we call up with 2 or 3 questions, you're going to get the opportunity at the end of every interview where the interviewer is going to say to you, do you have any questions at all for me? It is amazing how many candidates say, oh, you know what? No, you've actually answered all of my questions. And the candidate's probably thinking that's a good thing to say. I'm like, this is your chance. This is the only part of the process where you can ask me something. This is the only chance of the process where you can set the agenda or set the tone or actually impress. So again, write down, I've got here 5 or 6 questions. You're not going to ask 5 or 6 questions. You're going to ask a maximum of 3, but we need to write down 6 because some of them might have already been discussed. But this is your chance again to ask some really good questions that show the level of research you've done. Take a copy of the advertisement, any photo ID, any payroll, anything that you've been asked. And if you take it in a compendium, you look professional, you look organized, you look like you mean business. If you can do that, you'll show the interviewer how serious you are. All right, the interview's done. It's dusted. You've left the room. You're on the way home. What do we need to do? I would certainly recommend to email the recruiter. Just thank them. I love it when I get an email that says, "Hey James, thanks for interviewing me this morning. I appreciate your time and I look forward to learning more." Also follow up with commitment. So if I've said to you, can you get me back to me with those resume details or certificates, or can you take this test? As soon as you leave the office, the time is ticking. And the quicker you can do it, the more impressed I am. The quicker you can do it, the more impressed I am. So get things done there as quick as possible. All right, I just want to speak quickly about effective communication during the recruitment process. So while what we've talked about so far is resumes, cover letters, phone interviews, and face-to-face interviews, there's a lot of communication that happens outside of that job seekers aren't aware of in terms of the impact that it is having. So what do I mean by that? Well, answering the phone in a polite and pleasant manner. If you don't have a voicemail, get one set up today. If you are looking for work without a voicemail, I don't like it at all. If you don't answer the phone, that's fine. If I can't leave you a voicemail, you're not getting a message from me. You are missing opportunities. It's unprofessional. You don't have to keep it on forever, but have it on while you're looking for work. Show interest in the person that you're meeting. I love it when a candidate asks me about my background. They say, James, how long have you worked here? Or they say, I had a look at your LinkedIn profile and I saw this. Or I looked at your LinkedIn profile and I read your article on resumes. I really liked it. Find a way to build a connection. Find a way to build a rapport. People love it when you ask them about themselves or you show that you've done some research into themselves. These are some things that you can do that are quite simple. Ask for honest feedback and really mean it. You will actually get feedback if you ask for it. If you say, I want to know why I didn't get the job, you probably won't get feedback. But if you say, thanks for letting me know I've been unsuccessful, would you mind sharing with me anything that I can do to improve for next time? Or even at the end of the face-to-face interview, you can say, thanks for seeing me today. Would you mind sharing with me any areas you think I could have performed better on in today's interview? They might say no, but there's no harm in asking. And whatever feedback you get here, that's what you need to go away and improve on. Have a thankful attitude. So always at the end of every conversation, say thank you. Thank you for meeting with me. Thank you for speaking with me. Be polite, be friendly. And then avoiding negative communication. So as I said, don't be difficult to be reached. Don't be slow. If I've asked you to do something, get back to me with something. You need to be really consistent with your information. So you don't be vague at all. And don't speak negatively. Look, you might have left your last job because it was a horrible environment. The boss was a pig. The pay was terrible. The customers were rude. And the product was terrible. If that's the case, do you want to be remembered for that, what I've just said, or do you want to be remembered for the skills that you're going to bring? So you can say, yeah, look, I just didn't really like the last job. There was a couple of things there. I can go into detail if you want about why I've left, but I'm here now because I'm looking for a better opportunity. All right, well, that's the end of today's workshop. I want to thank you for joining. As I said, today is just a quick touch on all the different recruitment topics that you're likely to experience when you're looking for work. Please do jump on our candidate coaching platforms where you're watching this today. We've got over 34 different coaching videos and we do a deep dive into all the topics. We've got four videos alone on creating a great resume. We've got 6 videos on preparing for interview. So good luck with your job hunt in 2024. And thanks for joining me today. I'll be back again next week with another live